Hello, welcome to Tricia's Cards and Crafts and another in our Step Up, Simple to Stepped Up on Sundays series. Today I'm using a retiring stamp set called Fancy Phrases, but I'm also using a sentiment from a different one because I wanted to make a thank you card. So, and there wasn't really a thank you in this set. I love the images on this, very versatile, and I've made a few other cards with using this stamp set, and every time I make one they seem to be slightly different. They don't necessarily, they're very versatile stamps. I got the sentiments from here, the Sweet Strawberry stamp set, and the thank you and that was so sweet of you sentiments that I've used for this. This is the stepped up version, and I'll explain a bit more about that later on. And this is the simple version, thank you, and that was so sweet of you, with a little images again on the inside, and then on the front of the envelope I've got another of the images. Okay, so this is what I'm going to show you how I made this. I don't know whether you can pick it up, but there is some sort of shimmer on there, and I'll explain how I did that when we go through the card. There's not any on the inside or on the envelope of this one, but there is on the larger version, and we'll go through that one afterwards. Right, so we start off as usual with our card, our base, and I've got this image is quite a large image, so you'd need quite a large block if you're going to use this one, or you could use a stamping platform. Either will be fine. Just make sure that all of the image is stamped up nicely. Just make sure there's none on the outside, just in case. And then this just fits on the inside, just inside the edges of the card. And then we just need to press down firmly to make sure it all comes through nicely. So there we go, and it does stamp out really nicely. And then we want the thank you sentiment. And I'm going to put this up here. There we go, and this really comes out nice and clearly. Then on the inside I'm going to stamp my next sentiment. There we go. That was so sweet of you. I think that's quite a nice sentiment too. But it also goes very nicely with this Sweet Strawberry stamp set. And then finally this little image, the smaller of the images, and put that down here. And then I'm also going to put it on the front of the envelope. I might just put it on the back as well, on the flap. This time I'm going to put two, so I'll put one going that way and one going the other way. There we go. Well, I managed to get my finger on it. Great. Right, so that's the stamping done. Don't want to do too much because I don't want to make it even worse. But if we do it quite quickly, I nearly always manage to get something smudged. Now these don't actually meet in the middle. But if you use your Stampin' Right marker pens, I've got a black one here, I can get this so that it will meet up in the middle. And yes, you might know a little bit that it doesn't quite meet, but it doesn't matter too much. There we go. So there's the envelope. Now we can start colouring in our images, and I've chosen to use the watercolour pencils, and this is set 1, and it's got all of these lovely colours in it, and I'm using the Old Olive, Daffodil Delight, the Rich Raspberry, Melon Mambo and Pumpkin Pie. So those are the 5 colours that I'm using for this card. I thought it made it look quite vintage, so I think the colours are quite good for like nice vintage colours. So that's why I've used those colours. So, I mean, it doesn't matter how you colour these in, it's up to you. Tend to try and go to the side of the point rather than using the point, just because I don't want any really hard lines. And this gives you a much softer effect. I find that the pencils are quite soft anyway, so you don't need to press too hard, and they do tend to give you a nice soft line anyway, or sort of blurry. You don't have to worry too much about getting the when you're colouring in, that you get them all correct exactly to the line, because that won't matter too much overall. And then I'm using the yellow to do the smaller flowers. And this one, the ones that are not the roses anyway, they're all going to be in the yellow. And I think the yellow gives a nice contrast to the roses. Hopefully it makes the roses stand out even more. But it also brightens it up a bit as well. Then I've used the orange, the pumpkin pie, for the centres of the yellow flowers. Now I'm using the Rich Raspberry to do the shaded areas, so just the shaded areas first, and I am using more of a line rather than on the side for these, because I want it to be a bit darker. It just helps to add to the shading, because if you don't actually do it too hard, or don't press too hard, or if you don't do too much of it, it does come out quite light as well. So you just have to make sure you balance the weight of your lines with this one. And really all I'm doing is using the actual images and just doing where the actual shading is on the stamp, so it's not difficult to know where to colour in. And then very lightly just going over the rest of the flower now with the Melon Mambo. and they do match up quite nicely, and I'm not being careful with this at all really, just filling in the white areas. There we go, and now we'll do the inside. And the envelope. Might as well do them at the same time. There we go. And just the last bits, the pumpkin pie again in the centres, the yellow flowers. Now for the shimmer. So I've used the Wink of Stella. Pretty certain I know it's still in the annual catalogue for this year, but I'm not sure. I need to check that it's still in next year's annual catalogue, but at the moment you can still get these, the Wink of Stella. Now I'm using this a little bit as I would if I was using a water brush, so I don't want to mix the colours up because they will mix a little bit. So I'm just going to do all the greens first, and it just smooths out any lines you might have, and it also mixes the colour together nicely. So if you did have any lines, this should help to iron them out and make it look more like a watercolour, but at the same time it's adding some shimmer. That's all the green leaves done, and then just clean it off a little bit, and then I'm going to do the yellows. Not too worried about the orange, so I'm going to go over the orange as well at the same time. Because if it did change the yellow a little bit, it won't matter too much, it'll just look a bit like shading. So that's all the yellows done. Now for the pinks, for the roses. It does move the colour around a little bit, but not that much that it makes too much of a difference. To the end result. And there we go. So I've done all of the front of the card now. I don't know whether you can see it very well. Hopefully you can. It does give a nice shimmery effect. So I'm going to do the inside of the card and the envelope. I didn't do it on the first one I did, but when I did the larger card, I did add some Wink of Stella to those, and I thought it looked quite nice, so that's why I'm going back to do these now. we go. I've had this particular pen for about a year. I know I don't use it an awful lot, but it lasts for a long time, just in case you wanted to buy one. There we go. So there's my card. I'll just use my bone folder to make the crease. There we go. So it sticks out a little bit better. So there we go. That's my second card. I'll do the back one afterwards, and we'll just get the second one. There's the first one I made. And now for the stepped up version, what I did, I used some of this year's in colours, the Magenta Madness. I had some of the DSP, and I've used that as the background layer because I thought that will bring the pink out a little bit. When I did this image, obviously the image is smaller than the main image, so what I did, I used this the smaller stamp, and I added extra stamps all the way around just to make it bigger. And I was just very careful when I was putting them down. What I did, I used a post-it note once I decided what I wanted it to be, so that the actual stem wouldn't go any further into the image than I wanted it to. So that's all I did. I just masked off a bit of the image so that I could put it where I wanted it to go. Okay, so that it doesn't interfere with the main image and you don't get lines going through the images. I've used some crushed I think it was crushed curry ribbon. Let me just see if I can find it. No. Never mind. It's I'm pretty certain it's crushed curry ribbon. I thought that looked quite nice with it. And then I've used some of these opal rounds, I think they're called opal rounds. I just thought they would pick out the colours without actually having to add any other colour to it. So I think that looks quite nice. Did the same thing with the Wink of Stella on this again, and I stamped the inside the same, and I did the same on the envelope as well. Okay, so there we go. Those are my cards for today. I hope you've enjoyed the video. If you did, perhaps you give it a thumbs up. If you have any questions, queries or suggestions for other stamp sets you'd like me to use, or any other cards you'd like to see made, then just let me know and I'll do my best. If you have any questions, you can leave them in the comments below, or you can email me at triciascardsandcrafts@yahoo.com. I'm also on Facebook and Instagram, so you'll be able to find me on there as well, Tricia's Cards and Crafts. And if you want any of the products that I've used today, you need to get in quickly for the stamp sets at any rate, because they're in the retiring list, so they won't be there for much longer, just the end of this month. So in May they will be disappearing. If you want any of them, you can find them on triciascardsandcraft.stampinup.net, and that's my online shop there. The sweet strawberry is carrying on, so you will be able to get that one if you like the look of that one, but the fancy phrases is retiring, so you won't be able to get that for much longer. Thank you very much for joining me, and hopefully I'll see you again soon. Bye.